Hello everyone, this is Grandmaster Alexander Lenderman. Yeah, with the new topic, which I think is very important for all of us, how to convert winning positions and make sure that you don't let them slip by, because as I think one famous GM said, maybe Emmanuel Lasker, the hardest thing to do is to win a winning position. That's the hardest part about chess, because very often you have many choices that look like they're winning, but some of them make it a bit harder, and then it becomes time consuming and it's hard to win. Another reason why winning position is hard is because very often by the time you're winning, you're in time pressure. And finally, it's just psychologically, either you start getting nervous when you're winning, excited, or you relax too early and you start thinking, wait, I'm winning easily, and you stop concentrating. So those are all of the reasons why we can sometimes spoil winning positions. I'll show you several examples of when the person was not able to convert a winning position, and we'll discover I don't know, this guy.
Oh, is this one in the spam?
No, it's not spam, but he's.
All right.
I mean,
pay no attention to him. I got him.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, what I was saying is that yeah, I'm gonna show you some examples of where the guy spoiled their advantage, and we'll discuss why that happened. All right. So let's start with this game. This is actually my game, unfortunately, where I was black against legendary Grandmaster Oleg Romanishin. He's older now, but he's still obviously not bad. I was black. In this game, I was able to outplay him, but unfortunately, he put up good resistance, and I couldn't find the finishing touch. So what should black do in this position? Oh, you're here to watch the lecture?
Yeah. Yeah. How about that?
Oh, wow. So we got a GM here. So you guys are in luck. Tough competition today. All right. So black to play. How would you try to convert this? That's the question. So Joe Bruno asks in Russian, who is it? Asked who is Denis Boros. Not sure what I should say. Hungarian GM.
Joe Bruno is not paying attention if he doesn't know who Boros is, the legend.
Okay, so. Okay, push. Joshua Harmon says push through 3-on-1 on the queen side. Avinash is saying queen b1. Hello, Ron. Nice to see you here. Okay, so far no one really gave a specific answer except for queen b1, which is a possibility. All right, let's see. I'll give you guys like 1 more minute. Thank you, Joe. Oh. All right, so far we have queen b1, queen e1 as suggestions. Any other ideas? We also got knight d7, queen a6. All right, all of these are our attempts. Okay, so let's see what I actually did. So what I did is I played queen e1. My opponent played bishop d2, king g3, and slowly but surely I lost my advantage and he consolidated. Yeah, this is already hard to win, and I eventually was not able to win the game. So queen d1, queen e1 I think is a bit inaccurate. Now, Joshua said correctly that we want to try to push our 3-on-1 advantage. So what is the most direct way we can try to push our advantage? Knight d7 feels a little bit too slow because we can go bishop d2 and try to stomper the pawns. And same thing goes for queen b1. We can try to go bishop d2 or something like that, queen somewhere. I mean, all of these moves give an advantage, but there's only one, way that you're brute force winning here with black. And so the move you have to make sure you calculate in such a position, given that these pawns should go, is what happens if you actually play b4. Now, maybe I considered, maybe I didn't, I don't remember. I might have just rejected it after queen c6. After queen c4. And it looks like it's just nonsense because both this is attacked, it seems like it just doesn't work. However, when you, as Sam Shankland, Grandmaster Sam Shankland always says, when you see an idea you really like, you have to look for a way to see if you can do it anyway, even if you feel like something is stopping it. And that's why queen takes b2. You have to look further, and queen takes b2 is winning for black, because after this, you have another very strong move, queen e2, attacking the bishop. And the thing is, white will lose back this bishop. And once he loses this bishop, which is his best piece, he will end up with pretty much a dead bishop on g2. And black will still be able to keep one of his pawns. And so a line like this, bishop d4, b2 takes, is completely lost for white because he's stuck with a dead bishop. Black even has mating attack ideas like knight g6, knight h4. But more importantly, b3, queen c2, b2, there's really no way to stop the pawn, and this is just lost for white. So this would have been completely winning, right? But it's important not to stop a variation too soon just because of first move, right? You have to look a little bit deeper, especially if the move is logical from the general standpoint of view, right? Which is why my general recommendation is in any position, before you start calculating everything, it's important to understand what are you playing for in the position. And sometimes that will help you make certain decisions. That will help you steer your brain in the right direction in terms of which lines you should calculate, which ones you should probably not spend so much time on. Okay, so this I thought was very instructive. All right, let's look at another one. This is actually a game of Firouzja. Firouzja was playing with the white pieces this game, but it was a rapid game. I think it was against Leinier Dominguez in an online rapid cup or something like that in the beginning of the pandemic. Firouzja, as you guys know, is a clear leader now in the Grand Swiss, full point ahead with 3 rounds to go. Has a very good chance now of qualifying for the candidates if his nerves don't let him down. And in this game, he very nicely outplayed Leinier Dominguez. I think he even might be number 3 in the world after today's win. But so queen d6. Now white played the very strong c5, putting pressure on the queen on d6. Queen d5. Queen e2, threatening bishop c4. So at some point, black made a mistake. I think he had to play knight a5 here, and the idea was after bishop d3, there is rook takes f3. But in a rapid game, this kind of tactic is a bit difficult to find. So white always had a little bit of an initiative, and eventually black misplayed it, and white got the initiative. And Firouzja is really, really good with the initiative. I've even faced him in one game myself in a classical game in 2019 when he was still a 2650 player, and I can already see that it's World Championship material. He beat me in a way that I would never have imagined that he would be. Like a 16-year-old can win a game like this from like a quiet position. That was something impressive. But yeah, anyway, that's... So here, c4, d5 was very nice, completely shutting down black's pieces on the queen side. c6, rook e5, queen g4, h3, queen g3, d6, total domination, but black keeps fighting. Bishop a6, he wants to play knight b7. Queen e4, g6. And now, what should white do in this position? What would be the best way to convert it? Again, before calculating, try to think about this position in general conceptual terms. That's always a good idea before you start calculating. Okay, first you should always look at checks, captures, threats, but unless you see something that's like directly winning, then you should start thinking conceptually. So white to play, what will be the best plan? I think this is quite an instructive one as well. And I'm happy I select the difficult ones because I see a lot of good players around here. Ariane is also a very good player. I've seen him in some of my other classes before. So, all right, Joe Bruno says rook e8. All right, it's a possible move. Let's see what else we have. All right, Bernardo Diaz agrees. All right, we have rook e7. Okay, those are okay. Okay. All right, so it looks like we're in between rook e8, rook e8, and rook e7. Does anyone have any other ideas? And rook h5. All right, so Joshua got the right idea, yes. What we really want to do is exchange the rooks, but we want to do it in the best possible way. And so knight d2 or knight h2 would both be very good. And the idea here is after rook f1, knight f1 would also attack the queen, and then yeah, black is in big trouble. And if rook f2 takes rook e8. And if you can exchange both the rooks, then because of black's pieces being completely away from the game, dynamically misplaced, then it makes sense that we try to trade off all the rooks, because then we'll basically 2 pieces up in the attack and should win, which is why knight h2 makes sense, trying to trade off both the rooks. Rook e8, however, I think we can go knight b7. And I'm not sure what the follow-up is. Maybe it's also not so bad, but I think knight d2 or knight h2 is simpler. In the game, white played rook e7, and then after knight b7, it turns out that nothing clear, and then black was fine. All right, so all right, this is a game Vachier-Lagrave against Grischuk from the candidates 2020. That was the first half of the candidates, and yeah, MVL had very good prep in this game, and I think that this is one of the reasons why he might have not won the tournament, because had he won this game, he would have been half point ahead and could have been different. Everything could have been different later on. So this was kind of a very important miss for Grischuk, and yeah, so this was a position, critical moment. MVL played this moment kind of quickly, within 3 minutes, even though here probably should think longer because there are a lot of possibilities here. So what do you think white should do here? All right, so looks like people are starting to get it. Okay, let's look at what MVL did first. He played bishop a3, black played c5, e6, f6, bishop takes, knight takes, rook takes, fg, rook here, king d6, rook here, and then came a5, a4, and that turned out to be enough counterplay for black to make a draw. So bishop a3 didn't work out as well because of c5. If we're to play e6 first, then after this, there's also not much we can do as a follow-up. And finally, there's knight f7, which take here, here, rook e5, and then it's also not clear. Rook e8, and this leads to a draw. And if bishop g5, then king e6. So knight takes f7 is also not winning. So the correct idea is we play rook e4, which attacks the bishop, and it also takes advantage of a loose knight. And now, depending on what black does, it kind of disturbs black's harmony. And depending on what black does, we can decide what we will do. So for example, if knight b6, we will go here, king e8. Now there's no more c5, right, once knight's on b6. And then we can play here, and we have a very big attack. Or even knight f7 takes e6, bishop e6, rook e6, and white is winning here pretty easily. And if bishop h5, we have rook f4. So after bishop a3, we win here, king e8, knight f7. And if black played bishop e6, we just take and go bishop g5. And then rook back, and then rook there. So you see in some cases the bishop ends up going to g5, some cases on a3, which is why it's also good not to commit the bishop to a3. And finally, if they go bishop b5, we have a very nice idea here. I don't think anyone mentioned it yet. What do you guys think white should do in that case? Right, very good. Rook takes c4, rook takes f7, and then white has a very powerful position. I think it's rook c7 actually, and then rook d8, we go bishop a3. Yeah, and white is basically crashing through. Okay, very good. So let's look at the next one. So here it was a matter of calculation, seeing all your options, and just because you see a good move, don't play it immediately. See a good move, look for a better move. Now let's look at some, let me just see, more basic examples of that, right? Because one of the other reasons why we sometimes blow winning positions is because we settle on something simple, something that's good, but we miss, you know, something much better, right? We miss the knockout. And let's look at some examples like that. So, yeah, in this game, black really misplayed the opening. And now the question is, what is the most efficient way for white to convert this? Okay, the queen is hanging, so we have to be very careful. But you're right, it is an idea, so you have to, yeah, you have to think about where you would want to move the queen. All right, so everybody seems to want to go queen d4, yes, and this is actually what white played. It's a very tempting move, but as tempting as it is, it's actually a mistake. Because after we go queen d4, he goes bishop e7. Now we have nothing better to do than just exchange queens, right? And yes, we will be better in the endgame, but it's not a knockout. There's still game to be played. And we cannot play queen e5 like one person mentioned because of queen takes d1, right? So this is very promising, but it does not actually win because now black is unpinning himself and position is unclear. So actually, yeah, we can play many moves here. We can play queen e2, queen c2. We can play almost any move with wins, just not queen d4. Because here the problem is we have two threats. One threat is b4, c5. And another threat is, let's say black plays queen somewhere. I don't know, c7, e7. What is the other idea white has here? Yeah, I think where the queen goes doesn't matter so much. I mean, c2, e2, e1, they're all good. But here, yeah, knight g5 I don't think is such a great idea. Rook takes d6. Queen takes d6. and bishop f4. And then we're winning the piece for free, right? So queen d4 is a very tempting move, and it's very easy to say, okay, it's good enough, you know, clear advantage, you know, clearly cannot be a bad move, and let's just play it. But again, when you see a good move, it's very important to be disciplined enough to look for a better move, right? Not just settle for a cheap advantage. Because this one is not so easy to win, and white is actually not able to win the game. It's actually from one of my students' games. All right, so let's look at another example. Let's see. And this is actually from the great Magnus Carlsen. This is a game from a while back, Magnus Carlsen against Anish Giri from 2017. And okay, the first part of the game I didn't really analyze, but very deeply. But basically, Carlsen has outplayed Giri in a nice way. Wait, what engine is this? I'm confused. We're not using right now any engine. Yeah, so anyway, we have this position right here. And now, what should white do in this position? This is like a very basic example of why it's important to follow this rule. You see a good move, look for a better move, right? This is a very basic example, but kind of proves the point. And even Magnus Carlsen fell for this kind of thing, where he kind of played too fast and didn't look for a better move. That's actually something that I fell for also in the US Championship, and I've done that video before where I played an automatic recapture and it turned out there was a better move. So what do you guys think white should do? Yes, of course, rook c8 is a very simple win. You know, now it's either mate in 3 or you will lose the queen, right? Either way, rook c8, black basically resigns, right? The game is over. From this position, I think any of you can beat Magnus or Giri. It's an easy win. But the problem is, Magnus from far away thought bishop f7 is winning, and he played the move very quickly because the move also looks completely winning. But the only problem is it's not quite so easily winning, because after king h8, rook h5, king here, bishop e6, how can he miss it? Well, simple explanation. He saw a move, it didn't look for a better move, right? And if even Magnus Carlsen can make that mistake, did not follow last year's rule, then certainly all of us sometimes could be vulnerable for that, right? That's why it's very important to remember these kind of rules, right? So king f6, yeah, and this is still winning, but actually only with one move, right? And this is already very, very difficult. He had to find this move bishop c4. And after bishop c4, there's knight e5, rook h6, king f5, and he had to find some bishop d3. I mean, anyway, it was complicated. So at this point, you know, nobody could blame Magnus for, you know, not even Magnus for miss. And he spent a lot of time, and he still couldn't really calculate it out, right? Which is why I didn't really want to bother torturing you with this. I mean, bishop c4 is just very hard, right? But, you know, that's, you know, think about it. Like now, it went from something very, very basic that a 1200 could see to something that even for GM, this would be very difficult to calculate in 30 minutes, right? So this is what sometimes, you know, spoiling a simple win could mean, like, right? If you just play too fast and don't play the first move you see, first good move you see, and don't look for the better move. Anyway, in the game, white played like this, bishop h3, and then he got this position, which ultimately Magnus couldn't win, and it's not winning. Okay, now I'll show you an example of why it's important not to ever relax too prematurely. Because in this game, I have a student who, at that point, it was around over 2300 FIDE. And yeah, that would probably be a 500 rated puzzle. No, I think actually more like closer to 2000, but anyway. But anyway, because I mean 500s are usually very straightforward and simple. Usually the ones higher are more tricky, but that's beyond the point. Still, obviously Magnus should see it. Yeah, so in this game, black played some move queen a5, and white. And the question is, what should white do here? Simplest way to convert this. Okay, this is actually involves the same rule, right? You see a good move, look for a better move, right? So even though, you know, you can take on h2, you should still stop for a second and think, maybe there's something a little better, a little cleaner, right? And there is. Bishop b6. Bishop b6, the guy resigns immediately, right? There's just nothing black can do after bishop b6. Maybe he can try knight c4, but still you can take, and then you're going to be the upper rook with queens off the board, right? So then it's a very easy win, right? And black pretty much has to resign. But after king h2, it's up a piece, but there's still a little bit of complications. Bishop c6, and the game is not completely over, right? And now you actually have to focus a little bit. So white played queen d4, which is also not a great move. b4 was still much simpler. Queen d4, and now came bishop f3, and suddenly there's some clouds involving this king, right? So it's very easy to let your guard down in a winning position, even if you're a strong player. Rook e1, rook c4, and now white should still play queen b6, and white should still play queen d6 and win. But unfortunately came queen b6, and now came a very strong move, knight takes g4. And suddenly it's a big whoops, because after hg, queen e5 check, and white is losing all of a sudden. It's incredible. King h3, we have bishop takes g4, and after king h1 we have rook takes g4, and then we have check and checkmate. So here white started to think for a long time after realizing what he's done. And king g1 also does not work, queen e5. So amazingly, only move is king g3, otherwise white is losing. And here, to black's credit, black was a much lower rated, but here black was really back in the fighting spirit. Black found a very strong move to pretty much come all the way back in the game. So what is the strongest move now for black? Obviously, the names of my students will remain anonymous. Now this one you have to be a little creative, but black found the move, and black was around a 2000 player, maybe 2100, something like that. Black found the move. So bishop takes g2, of course, will not work. The queen is hanging, right? Then there's no mate. Queen e5 check does not work because of king f3, and the king escapes. Now, queen h5 is very interesting, but then white can still do king takes f3, even stepping into the... And then it's still not so easy. So, but you're close. Queen h5 is already close to the right idea. Queen f5, yes. Brilliant move. And then it turns out, okay, it's not like black has a huge threat here, but white cannot do anything either. Cannot take with the king, and of this, now you go queen e5, and it's mate. Queen e5, queen h2. And after hd, you have queen takes and queen g4. So after queen f5, the game is completely out of control now and clear. And white ended up going here, knight e3, bishop f3, ended up giving back the exchange, and queen c2. And later on, white was still able to win the game, but after lots of sweat, even though, if you go all the way back to this position, it should have been so easy after bishop b6, right? So just never let the guard down. Even if you think you already won the game, remember, you haven't won the game until the game is actually over, right? And if you see a good move, even if it's a recapture like that, just a reminder, always consider a better move. All right, so let's see. Let's see what this was. All right, this is actually another interesting game from my student, and here my student is playing a GM. It's actually the same student. And this is a very tricky line, by the way. That's kind of good to be aware of, that a few people have shown me. Actually, Jeffrey Xiong recently in the US Championship played something very, very similar against me. And I thought he's going to go knight e6, and I thought he was trying to trap me in this line. But then he played bishop d7, which really surprised me, because I thought the only point of going to this line is to try to do this trap. And the trap is as follows. Knight e6. The most tempting plan for white in the knight ge2 systems is to play f3 and then e4, right? But black has something in store against this plan. So f3, e4 is actually a mistake. White needs to play something else. Rook e1, for example, king h1, f4, they're all moves. But this is actually a mistake because black has a very nice tactic. So if you know this, then don't say it. But if you don't know it, if you want to try to figure out what should black do here, what is the trick here, after which black gets a winning attack. Right, bishop d7 after knight e6. Yes, that's if white does not play f3 stuff. Yes. Knight takes h3 does not really work here, but it's an idea at some point, of course. But if you take it here, I think I play gh, and it's not so easy. So if we go bishop h3, I don't think that does work for several reasons. I can go bishop g5, but I can also take. And then king g2, and I can even play e5 maybe as well. So yeah, we need something more concrete. Somehow that queen on d8 has to join the attack. All right, so we have to play knight takes, but you have to specify knight f takes e4, of course. F takes e4, knight takes h3, pawn takes, and queen h4. Yeah, and this is a winning attack. And here, in the game, white played rook f2. What would be the best idea in case of e5? This is the last point of this trap. Very nice one to know. Yes, very good. Rook takes e5, f takes e5, and d takes e5, bishop c5, and then this is a winning mating attack. So here at this point, the GM realized he fell into this very nasty prep. He tried rook f2. But still, bishop h3, e5, rook e5 still came. Takes here, but white, of course, kept fighting. Played knight e4, takes, queen g5, knight g4, takes, king f2. So the smokes sort of have cleared. Yes, Eric Rosen, yes, he's the one. He's actually the one who showed it to me at some point. He's actually the first person from who I found out about this line. Yes, so it is Eric Rosen's idea. So credit to him. So queen here, rook e8, king d2. Yeah, and here comes a very instructive moment because black has a completely winning position, right? He's going to have 5 pawns for the piece, and white's king is open. But the game's not over yet. White is still fighting, and GMs are very resilient, right? So, you still have to win a winning position. And guess what? Black, unfortunately, lost the game, which is kind of a pity to trap somebody, a GM, in a line like this and then to lose. Now, this was an online game, so it doesn't feel as bad. It was a long online game, though. That was during the heat of the pandemic when people played like classical online chess a lot. So this was a game in 60 online. So pretty serious game. So the question is, what should black do in this position? What do you think is the best plan for black? Yeah, unfortunately, black lost the game. Yeah. Yeah, so the correct idea is queen g5 here. Because what we really need to do is we need to keep that king away from hiding in the shelter. So what we have to understand is white's only chance is to somehow hide with the king on b3, a2 at some point, right? Running away with the king. And then the material disadvantage, it's still a lot, 5 points for the piece, but you can still fight somehow with the extra piece. Maybe it's not completely lost. The real problem for white, the reason that, black is so much better here, it's like -6, is because the king is very weak. And if you go queen g5, the problem is if white goes king c3, black can go c5. And now the king is not able to escape via b3. And the king is going to be completely stuck, right? So now white's going to have to lose a lot of material. Like this might be the best line for white, but this is, of course, easily lost. And if you go king e1, then the king is just forever boxed in over there. Then I go bishop g4, h5, h4, and it's more or less just winning for black. But unfortunately, black played this, queen c5, queen g5, king c2, and the king sort of got to run away a little bit. And even though this is still winning, little by little, it's becoming a little bit harder. And I think d4 was also possible, but yeah, this got a bit more difficult. And you know, white slowly consolidated. Now white got a chance to activate the knight. And here black made the blunder, queen e5 and allowed knight d5. Very nice tactic, and suddenly it's not winning anymore. Black had to go here, and after this, knight b6, white even managed to win the game, right? So it's important very often with these winning positions to put the knockout blow, like put the hammer down on them to really make sure you don't let them out. Because once you let them out a little bit and they feel like they're back in the game, they start fighting like lions, right? So that's very, very important to keep in mind. And I think I talked about that in the endgame lesson a little bit as well. All right, so let's see. I don't remember if I mentioned the wonder game and the insane in the endgame. I'll have to go back and look. If I didn't, I'll probably...
A wonder?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll probably need to cover that game on Tuesday then. Because that was kind of relevant for a rook endgame, but... Okay, but anyway, let me just see what else do I have here. Yeah, this one I showed. Yeah, this is a very good one I really need to show. This was a very painful game. It seems like sometimes people, they see they have a winning position, they try to consolidate too quickly. I think you have to understand what kind of winning position you have, right? Because sometimes you have a material advantage, sometimes you have a dynamic advantage. You have like just a big attack, right? And sometimes it's a little bit of both, right? So you have to make your judgment and understand how you should approach the position, right? You know, and then based on that, you have to decide what should be your approach in the position, what you should calculate. Yeah, so this game is a game between Vidit and Navara. And this was a very painful game, unfortunately, for Santosh Vidit, who outprepared Navara, played a really nice game in the beginning, but then made a one slip up and then even lost the game. And as a result, he did not win a tournament where he was leading with 2 rounds to go. It was last year, 2020 Prague Masters, the tournament before the pandemic basically shut the whole world down. So yeah, so far white is dominating. Yeah, so this a6 stuff is too slow, so black probably black should play here some other way, but like knight d5 or knight e4, but knight h5, knight c3, bishop e7, bishop c4. Yeah, here black should play something like c6, but black played this. And now white played a very powerful move, d5. ED, bishop takes d5, knight g3, hg3, c6, and now here comes the attack. Bishop takes f7, king takes f7, e6, king takes e6, queen e2 check, king f7, castle's long, bishop f6. Yeah, black is defending really, really tough. And here, white is winning and has these winning attacking ideas. Bishop c8 is a try, but this would be completely hopeless for black. White has a winning attack here. So black tried queen e7, knight d6. Yeah, and here maybe white could have tried queen c2, keeping the queen on. But it makes sense that white wanted to play without too much risk, because the draw was also still probably winning him the tournament. But yeah, of course, white still has a very good attack. Maybe, yeah, here black found a very nice move, knight d5. And the point there is that after this check, king f7 takes, the knight on b7 is trapped. So white played king b1, because if knight c6, there's rook c8. So king b1, rook c8, rook e1, bishop takes a3, knight takes c6, bishop b4, knight takes rook d7. Yeah, so white is still having a winning position, and black played a little bit wrong at some point. Here, rook a8. And here comes rook e7, rook h7, knight e4, rook h6, rook takes, rook d8. All right, critical moment right here. I mean, there were definitely interesting moments leading up to it. It's a game that certainly deserves a lot of attention, but since we're focusing on converting winning positions, let's maybe start with this position. So how would you play here, and why? This is both calculation and also general chess understanding. More general understanding, though. You have to understand what you're aiming for, what black's aiming for. We're up a pawn, but still not that easy. So we have to pay attention to black's counterplay. There is a mate threat on d1 if we move the rooks, so we have to be very mindful of that. Yeah. All right, Itai got it, yes. So what we have to understand in this...
You can keep going. I don't know what happened with the projector. I'm trying to fix it, but you're still live.
Okay. Yeah, what we have to understand in this position is that white definitely wants to keep both rooks on the board, right? Because white is attacking, and so rook df7 is what we want to play. And after this, we just have to see that there is a mate threat, so we play the move b3, threatening knight f6, and then black really has no adequate defense here. For example, knight d5, white plays knight g5, threatening rook g8, and white has a winning attack. So the main thing to understand conceptually is we definitely want to keep rooks on the board somehow, and then we should be able to win the game. But somehow white had a brain slip. I don't know what happened, but he played b3 immediately and allowed the rooks to get traded off. It's like a tragic brain slip. He wanted to play, I think, even the right move order, but unfortunately this thing happened to him, and then he just could not really readjust mentally. Like, he blew the advantage, and then he basically wanted to win at all cost. At some point it was already not winnable, and black was repeating moves, but a draw would have still been like somewhat acceptable in his situation. He would have still been a clear leader with a round to go, but he still kind of in his mind thought, okay, I must win the game because I was winning. And then he managed to just completely go crazy, over press, and managed to even lose the game in a most painful manner. And then he lost the last game, and it turns out if he would have even made a 1 draw in the last 2 games, he would have won clear first in the tournament. And then he ended up in a 5-way tie, and then Firouzja ended up beating him in a playoff. So it was just, you know, it was like a tragic way how he ended up not winning this tournament. But I guess sometimes chess could be really cruel. Yeah, White even lost this game, sadly. Not just the game, but the tournament, and then just, I mean, looks like he recovered, but that was tragic, chess-wise. Let me see what this was. I think this I'll save for an endgame course. Let me see. Okay, this is a little bit of a long story. I think I want to show a couple of enders with a couple of my games. So let me, yeah, I actually ended up playing 2 games against an IM for Romanishin, and let's start with this one, and then I'll show you the other one as well. So at some point I ended up finding this piece sack to go 96, and yeah, if he takes, I take on d4, so he has to take. Now if I go 96 first, he takes on here, and then he takes on b1, and he gets too much for the queen, so I have to take. Now his only move is queen e5, otherwise I go g5 and I win. I mean, maybe not the only move, maybe his objectively best is not to play queen e5, but of course queen e5 is the most practical move. Queen c4, queen g5, queen c6, and rook a7. And now I will not overload you with trying to calculate in this position, but basically White is winning in several different ways. I believe, yeah, of course the first moves I looked at were something like queen d7 check or queen e8 and trying to get an attack. But it wasn't that clear to me because he can play c5 and he's somehow kind of defending. I thought it's not that easy. Queen d7, I also thought he can go king f8 and king f7. So it wasn't that easy. I think what I should have done is I should have just made a list of all my candidate moves from the very beginning and realized that I had a pretty simple win that would not require too much deep calculation, which is bishop d4, simply attacking the rook, and now the only real defense is knight c5, and then I go e5. Simple 2-move idea. I win back the knight, and this is very clear cut. Like after this, there's not much black can really try. This is just very easily lost. Instead, I saw that queen d7, queen e8 is not unclear, and then I got attracted to this very interesting idea h4, attacking the queen. And here I calculated a very long line, which looks like a beautiful line, and it looked like a brilliancy, but it had one flaw. So the way it went was, now he has to take, rook h2 of course, and now black has 3 possible moves. Yes, that's right, 3 possible moves. Possible logical moves. So the question is, how would you play for black here? Yes, Cameron, exactly. I think for your question, Cameron, if rook b7, it's not that easy because, I mean, the queen might still get some counterplay and the pawn is still kind of far away. But okay, it's maybe I was also winning, but I think bishop d4 is the most clear cut. But yeah, h4, queen h4. All right, yes, I got it, right? So the easiest line to calculate was if he tries to hold on to everything, queen g5. And then, of course, it's an easy win. I go queen d7, then I go check, and then the key is I open up the rook, and then I win, right? So that was the first point. Then I saw he can also go queen g3, and here I also saw a very nice line. Queen check again, and now a very important bishop g7 check, force 4. And luckily for me, this is what he played, and I was able to execute this nice combination. So if king f7, of course, queen d7, so he has to take. check, 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 and mate. So I saw this possibility too. And, you know, and luckily my opponent had a minute and he saw queen g3. He thought he's surviving, but it turns out he's not. I have this very nice mating sequence. He did not see bishop g7. And I thought, okay, for sure now h4 is a brilliant. Like I thought, okay, amazing game and very happy. But then later on, as soon as I played rook h2, I realized to my horror that not only does he have knight b8, but the thing is I saw knight b8 from far away, and I thought that I can play queen e8 from a move earlier. But then I realized when he was thinking here that after knight b8, I cannot actually go queen e8 because of a very nasty cold shower, queen e1 check. And suddenly I lose because bishop takes e1, knight takes e8. So I made a kind of a very common rookie mistake when it comes to calculation. I calculated a very deep line after h4 takes queen g3, queen d7, like a 10-move line or something like that. But the problem is I did not consider very carefully on move 2, right, the possible options, right? And it's very important before you go into deep lines, you have to see what's out there in the position. Explore all your candidate moves, right? And because I didn't do that, you know, I was very prone to making a miscalculation, right? So who cares that I calculated this beautiful line 10 moves deep if there's a 2-move reputation, right? And unfortunately, knight b8, if you would have played it, it's a draw because queen e8 I cannot play, I lose. Rook h4, this endgame is not really winning for me. It's also a draw. And if I go queen b5, I probably would have tried queen b5. Now he goes queen g3. He controls d7. And now I could try queen f1. Like if queen b8, then queen f3 is very good for black. Like I'm up in exchange, but my king is horrible. I'm going to lose this. Knight e4, f3 is coming. It's very bad. It reminds me of my game against Fabi just now. You know, also I was up in exchange, but had the same problem with my king. But I can go queen f1, but the problem is it looks like I'm trapping the queen, but no. He has rook b7. Very nice move. Threatening, well, not threatening, but basically stopping rook h3 because he can beat it with rook b1 now. A very nice tactic. And then he's doing well again. So it's a crazy position. And so now I would have to make this very nice draw by playing g5, queen takes g5, rook g2. And then after this, he has to go queen g5 because if he goes queen g3, he loses because of this, queen a1. And if king f7, I mate him on h8. And after king g5, I go rook g2, win the queen. And if I don't play g5, if I play bishop f6 right away, then he wins with king g5. And even after I try this, the king finds safe shelter on h3. So it's a lot of very interesting, crazy lines could have happened, but they're not. You know, when you're winning, when you have a winning position, you don't want crazy lines, right? You want to win in the most clear-cut possible way, right? So that's why in this position, I should have explored what are all my options. I should have noticed that I have bishop d4, which wins fairly easily. And then I should, you know, if I want to, I can look for h4 to see if it's better, if it's more clear-cut. But if I'm going to play h4 and not play the simple bishop d4 line, I have to be 100% sure that I'm not missing something. Because h4 is a very committal, responsible move, right? If I'm going to miss something after h4, you know, it could be very, very bad, right? Because I've exposed my king, right? So we have to remember to be practical with our calculations and keep all of these things in perspective. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. You know, the main lessons to take away are improve your calculation, improve your focus. Don't let your guard down. You see a good move, look for a better move. Make sure when you calculate, you don't try to go too deep into one line before you've considered all the options on move 1 or move 2. That's something that Mark Dvoretsky always talks about in his books. And, you know, just keep in mind all these things and remember that just because you have a winning position, it's not over until it's over. And hopefully, you know, you guys will be much more efficient in converting winning positions. I know, I certainly hope so for myself. So hopefully same for you guys as well. All right. Do I have advice for improving calculation? Yeah, I would say that's what I talked about today could be some of the tips. But other than that, it's just training the muscle. It's just doing it all the time. And then if you have a coach, then the problems you get wrong, go over with your coach. Try to, maybe he can find some patterns, you know, why you're getting certain problems wrong. So if you get a problem wrong, you have to try to understand why you got it wrong and try to find the pattern. Because once you find the pattern, then you can, you know, work on that pattern and be more aware of it and improve on that. But it's hard. Like, I'm working on that myself. It's not easy, but you know, you have to start somewhere, right? Do puzzle rush? No, puzzle rush does not help with calculation. Puzzle rush can only help with very quick tactics. It will help you with your blitz game, bullet game maybe, but not actually with your, not so much with your long game. Puzzle rush, you don't, it's not calculation. It's just how quickly you could see a simple tactic. It's a one-move tactic. It's, or maybe a two-move tactic. Are you going to see it in 1 second, or are you going to see it in half a second, right? That's a different kind of skill we're talking about. This is more about calculation rather than just solving simple tactics. Yes, exactly. Puzzle rush is pattern recognition, so, which is important, but it's and certainly, you know, put it that way, I wouldn't be so excited if you can get like 40 on puzzle rush all the time. But I would be concerned if you cannot get to 20, let's say. Because if you cannot get to 20, then I guess your pattern recognition is not quite where you need it to be, right? So I think if you're getting very, very low scores, then maybe it's a sign that you just need to get more used to the patterns. So then in that case, you probably should be doing tactics from a book and try to, you know, just learn the patterns. You know, but certainly if you're scoring 30 or higher and you're pretty decent, then I would say that, you know, your tactics are probably not such a big problem. It's more about calculation or other things. Aaron, that would be nice. I would love to do it. I actually enjoy doing that stuff. So, Blitz and Rapid are useful? Well, it depends on for what. I think Rapid training games are definitely very useful. Blitz, I mean, I think it depends with what purpose. I think for opening training, maybe. If you have a time pressure problem, maybe, but in general, I'm not so sure. Yeah, the next one will be, the next and last one with me will be on Tuesday. Next Tuesday, endgame course. So yeah, that should be, yeah, the next one. Yeah, on YouTube, I mean. All right, see you guys. Good night.